Diplodocus is the king of this tournament. So how do you take it down? Hello and welcome back to another installment of PokeFighter. Today I'm going to give you some basic information of what you need to know in order to succeed in this weekend's tournament. First and foremost, I do want to say thank you to Gamepress who put together this write-up. There is a link down in the description below. You can read through all of this information. They have a great infographic as well if you are a more visual person. Make sure you keep that in mind. Show them some love. They're very supportive of the JWA community. Because this weekend's tournament is a skills tournament, all creatures are set to level 26. No boosts, nothing. If you've unlocked it, you can rock with it. And before we get into how things rank and some counters to the better creatures that you are going to see in this weekend's tournament, I do want to say that this tournament guide was put together using a sim that was created by the same person who created the JWA field guide. It's not affiliated with Jurassic World Alive, but it is an exceptional supplemental resource for the game. I highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to download it from the Google Play or App Store. Having said that, there are a couple of limitations to this. Basically, if anything does swap in damage or swap and run as its primary moves, they're not going to be accurately accounted for in the simulation. So take that with a grain of salt. The simulation is going to help you put together a good general idea of what a strong team will look like, but you have other things that you have to consider: your play style and the fact that some creatures like Titanoboa are better against dinos that like to swap, and dinos that like to swap are typically undervalued in the simulation. And what the simulation says is that Diplodocus is by far and away the best creature for this tournament, winning a whopping 87% of all matchups possible while only losing 4 in a one-on-one situation. Those are the kind of odds that I want to be playing with. Basically, if you have a Diplodocus, you're running it. And when you're putting together your team, you had better put some counters, because everybody else who has it, they're going to be running it as well. Checking in at number 2 is a Tyrannosaurus, and while that might be a surprise to a lot of people, when you think about the bulk that it has, the superiority strike for turn 1 for some speed control, you can stun your opponent or you can drop some damage and get out of there, makes it a really nice candidate on all even levels. Definitely worth using in this particular format. Checking in at the number 3 spot is our friend Carbonimes. Carbonimes took a pretty big nerf in the latest patch. Basically what the nerf was, superior vulnerability no longer applies the vulnerability before the first attack. It is vulnerable after the first attack. It is a pretty big nerf for this particular creature. It's probably what keeps this creature from being in the number 1 spot, but as you can see, it only fell to number 3. In the 4th spot, we have our very first rare, and that is going to be Ornithormimus at a speed of 131. This thing is going to be annoying for a lot of players, and just get ready to see it, and see it a lot. Rounding out the top 5 is going to be the Woolly Mammoth, which checks in at winning 68% of all one-on-one head-to-head matchups. If you do want to check out the rest of the top 20, I highly encourage you to go check out Gamepress's write-up. After all, you are going to have to field a team of 8. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, Diplodocus. How do you counter such a creature if it wins at such an alarming rate? Well, basically you're going to have to team up in the way that you attack this. Drop a bleed. Spinosaurus Gen 2 is going to be a good option here. Marsupial Lion is actually kind of a dark horse, nice counter in this particular spot, and it's going to be a good creature across the board because of rending moves. Like I've said before in other videos, given the choice between 2 identical moves, I would rather have the rending move as opposed to a move that does a set amount of damage. And Marsupial Lion is great at that, plus it has some evasive properties to it to deflect some major damage. Additionally, big hitters like Woolly Rhino and T-Rex are going to be nice counters in this spot for the sheer amount of damage that they can do. But basically, when you go up against a Diplodocus one-on-one, expect to lose your creature, but that doesn't mean all hope is lost. You can definitely play around and set up the next creature for a revenge kill, and then maybe set them up to be rolling and more difficult to take out. In the number 2 spot, Tyrannosaurus, you will most likely see quite a few of these, and countering it is going to be a little tricky because it does have so many options after the superiority strike, where it most likely is going to take any kind of a speed lead from your creature, unless of course your creature is immune. But at that point, they can either stun or they can hit and run to get out of a tricky situation, which creates some matchup difficulties. Your best bet is going to be running immune creatures. Secondontosaurus, Ornithorhynchus come to mind in this particular situation, but also Titanoboa could be a nice little play here. If you're able to time their and run attack with a Titanoboa of your own, you can actually bring in Titanoboa before they get out of the arena, drop the rampage on them, most likely doing a load of damage on its way out or getting the knockout. Next up on the list is Carbonimes, and how do you counter this? Well, you're going to want to do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Things like Secondontosaurus are going to be really, really nice counters. Marsupial Lion again, Rending Moves, I like them. Allosaurus Gen 2, your Chompers, T-Rex, Woolly Mammoth, things like that that can deal a lot of damage, go through shield if Carbonimes wants to do dig in, and then the immune properties that are going to keep Carbonimes from taking over the speed lead. If you have played in these other tournaments previous to now, you know Secondontosaurus just absolutely shreds Carbonimes. That's not a bad pick, especially when you consider Tyrannosaurus is going to struggle with the same immune creatures. And finally, Ornithorhynchus, how do we counter something that is immune, can be evasive, and is super fast? Well, oddly enough, Titanoboa, the ultimate speed control in this particular tournament. Well, the 2 deer might be better speed control, but Titanoboa is going to do a lot to counter what Ornithorhynchus users are going to want to do. Ornithorhynchus users are going to want to use Evasive Strike. Titanoboa can rampage through that. They also are going to most likely want to do damage and get out because it is frail at the high speed. And while Titanoboa is not going to prevent them from swapping out, it is going to get the 2x rampage when they try to leave. Other things to look for are creatures with nullifying attacks, precise attacks, or definite attacks. Creatures to look for that do this type of damage are going to be your Woolly Rhino, your Secondontosaurus. Once again, you see this is a common theme. While Secondontosaurus doesn't shine in this tournament, it still ranks really high, but it does really well against the highest ranking creatures. Other creatures to look for are going to be the 2 turtles, Carbonimes, and then the new rare Meolania, I believe is how you say that one. So those are going to be the best options when trying to round out your team. And remember, this is a team game. You want to put the best 8 together because you're only going to get 4 of them. So make sure that you are building a well-rounded team. You're going to want a little bit of speed. You're going to want some immunity. You're going to want some high damage dealers. You're going to want Diplodocus. The rest of it, that's kind of up to you. And with all that being said, if you want to come chat with me about different team builds, there are a lot of people who join me in my Twitch live stream. I will be doing that tomorrow morning. I do it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Again, Fridays are going to be geared towards tournament battles. There are a lot of extremely knowledgeable people who follow the stream who will be able to help you team build. I'll even take some time and kind of go over what I think, if you care what I think, and overall we'll have a good time. Now, I don't know exactly what time I'm going to start streaming, so make sure you are also following me on Twitter. As always, links are down in the description below, and if you found this information useful, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on the alerts so you will know when the next YouTube video drops. And finally, make sure that you go check out the Gamepress article that all this information came from. They also have a Discord channel if you want some live one-on-one interaction. There are plenty of mods over there who can help you pick out a team. That's all I got for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something. So until next time, for the next turn, at which time they should use their shielding advantage. Now, as the Carbonimes user, you want to use Devastation to follow this up. Diplodocus is going to use its Decelerated Rampage once again to gain the speed lead over you, in which case, as the Carbonimes user, you want to follow up with